G'day and welcome back to the Upside Fantasy Sports podcast. This is the TLT Blitz, so we run through the major changes to teams and the implications from a fantasy and draft perspective, who the pickups may be, whether they're free agency pickups just to plug a hole or to stash on your bench, or whether you want to burn waiver wire priority tickets to grab these guys and compete with your league mates for those names. So yeah, we're at round 22. It's the last round of a regular season super coaching for most people, whether there's going to be some people that are going to be their first weekend of finals, and there's going to be others that might have a week after this. But for the general population that I can tell in our Discord and Twitter and stuff like that, this is the last round of regular season super coaching. And you might be asking, why is that the case? Well, typically most leagues have 4 rounds of finals. Most setups break down in different ways to deliver a one-on-one matchup in the final week, the fourth week. The reason that it happens now, you go, well, then that takes us to 26. Well, the reason that happens now is I think historically we've learned pretty well that having finals in round 27 isn't the best way to do things, given the way teams tend to rest their star players in the final week. Last year, we saw restings in the second final week, which makes it really tough. You don't want to come back too far and do a round 25 grand final, because I think if someone's rested round 26, that's bad luck. You just don't want to have 2 dead weeks there. One's enough. We want to play and maximize our enjoyment and regular season games as much as we can for ladder implications and all the rest of it. So you get super lucky if your stud gets, like your stars and your studs get rested in round 26. Hopefully that isn't the case for anyone. That may be the case, though, and you just have to take your lumps, unfortunately. So yeah, we're in a really tight spot here. It's going to be really interesting. Looking ahead, we've got buys for some key teams, especially the Roosters round 23, Manly this weekend. We've got Tigers in the final round, which we're not of finals, which we're not too concerned about. I don't think many competing teams will be relying overly on Tigers players. Yeah, so a bit to sort of to roll around in your head if you're a competing team. There's a lot to plan ahead for. But that's what I'm here to help with, and that's what our Discord is here to help with. I had an issue on Twitter where you couldn't DM me, but I've fixed that up. So yeah, check out that if that is the case. My Twitter is @UpsideSC, so it should be listed in enough places you can find it. Kicking off, I just want to show you my team coming into the final regular season round. I've got Damien Cook at hooker. I've got Terrell May and Josh Curran at front row, with Samuel Afanu being my interchange front row. I've got Jacob Preston, T. Wilton with Kai Pearce-Paul on the bench. I've got Nathan Cleary at halfback. I've got Dylan Brown at 5'8", or Jerome Luai. Both are dual eligible. I had Dane Laurie in 5'8" until he got concussed, which is really frustrating because he had some great matchups. He would have gone 80 plus if he didn't go off last week, so pretty disappointed there, and I would have been able to rely on him this weekend too. Got Brian To'o, Hamaso, Kyle Iro in my centre wings, with Marju and Casey McLean on the bench as centre wing coverage 4 and 5. And I got Teddy at fullback. So look, put a poll up that was obviously my team for guys in the Discord, was one of the teams listed. I just wanted to get people's thoughts on the cause of my main competitors coming into finals. My team won pretty dominantly. I feel good about it, but I think there's more nuance to that when people think, oh yeah, that team will go all the way, but the question didn't have the context that I probably, most likely, which I'll show you in a sec, need to win 4 games in a row. I've done it before back in the day, and my other wins, my other championships have come when I've had that sort of advantage of sitting pretty high on the table. So that'll be a new challenge for me this year, and if I can do it, that's great. And if I can't do it, that's my fault for not drafting well enough to have enough wins ultimately, and I have to take my lumps. Even though looking at this lineup, I'm pretty happy with what I've done, and I've sat on a few names and let a few things go to the keeper that I think have paid off. So hopefully I can just get some conversion later, a bit of luck, and this is my ladder. So I'm to the team there on 13 wins. It's a bit highlighted, a bit different color if you're watching on YouTube. You can see I am 1 win off second. So if he was to lose this weekend and I was to win, I would potentially have that advantage on for and against. I just don't think that's going to happen. He's got an easier matchup than me this weekend. Unfortunately, the guy below me could catch me, but then I'd have him on for and against. So I'm pretty stuck in third, which takes me versing sixth, and then the winner of third and fourth, who one of the better teams in the comp, if you're looking down that second to last column in from the right, there's a pretty big powerhouse there. I'm the best team for scoring, but only marginally, and sometimes that's 1 or 2 good weeks can put you over the top there. So I don't read too much into that. I've had solid luck when it comes to scores put on me. So is the guy above me. And you can see that the top 3 teams, which has made it really frustrating, we've all gone on 4-1 run in the last 5 games, which has just killed my chances of catching them. I haven't had things break my way. I should honestly be, I think, 5-0. I think I should be 6-0 if I didn't lose one of those bye rounds. So I planned ahead for it, but I just didn't get the rub of the green. I think I captained a Dylan Brown and he got a 40 odd and it just cost me the weekend, which was really frustrating. So yep, that's my issue I have to manage. I have to sit here and try and win 4 in a row. But yeah, look, I like the team. I just don't like the odds in SuperCoach. It just takes one HIA, it takes one injury, it takes one blunder to sort of have things go wrong, and that's going to be really frustrating when you put in as much effort as I have this season. But to be fair, maybe I didn't draft that well. So like I mentioned, just have to own that. Guys, let's kick off. A little bit of a prelude there for something different. Tigers v Cowboys is the first match of the round. The main change is Justin Olam comes into centres. I've highlighted Isiah Papali'i because he's at lock again for the Tigers. I think he should definitely be owned after what I saw last week. Ignoring the try, I think there was enough minutes there. Twile back to the interchange. Don't expect a late swap there. I just don't think he's dynamic enough potentially. But, I think Papali'i, you get him on your bench, see what he can do. Remember, he does have a bye in the finals, so I wouldn't burn a high ticket for him. On the Cowboys side, the only thing that's notable for me is Thomas McKaylee gets the start at lock, so he is a cash down option. If with the injury to, Taumalolo, Thomas McKaylee, he presents as someone you could sell, you could buy for pretty cheap in fantasy, classic, all that sort of stuff, and he'll deliver potentially some points. I just don't know how many minutes he'll get. I'm assuming Neem and Harrison Edwards will come on there, but without Cotter and Taumalolo this weekend, he has to play. Does he maintain a spot going forward? Maybe not, but if you're looking enough out, you could get some money and some points this weekend if you're short somewhere with the Manly bye. Just a guy to consider, not something I'm going to go overboard for, especially not in draft. I need to see a bit more. Next game, Warriors v Eels. Nothing notable. I'm going to start with the Eels though. I just think Bryce Cartwright, Sean Lane can be owned. Cartwright has more priority. I've been in and around Cartwright all season. Whenever he goes well, then he goes back to the bench and I drop him because I don't want to be caught holding the bag. But he's a guy that if you're needy, he presents way more upside than a lot of other options at this point in the season. Does he remain that? You can't trust that team, that coach, that situation. But whilst ever he's starting, I think he's a viable play and even waiver pickup. But I think as well, the bench doesn't present too much of a risk to him. There's not... I think Kapoa or whoever was taking a bit of minutes from Lane and whatnot earlier on in the season. So I think for now, Cartwright's a pretty high waiver pickup. But for the Warriors, CNK is back. Ali Leatuas remains in the centres. RTS moves to the wing, which is really great for owners there. Chanel Harris-Tavita actually wins out over Tamare Martin. Sean Johnson returns, which is a big one. Obviously, if Sean Johnson's on your waivers, you get him. And the reason why you may not want to rely on him or start him, but you just want to block or snipe your opponents from getting him. That is the big thing there with Sean Johnson. I think Kirk Catewell's worth a mention. I reckon potentially this bench means he might play 80 on an edge, and whilst I don't love him at all, like absolutely don't even care for him, he's scored a few tries lately. I think that's something that is noteworthy, and I just think against the Eels. So if you're really desperate, have a look at him. Dylan Walker should be owned. I think he's been doing enough consistently there. So I don't enjoy recommending him or watching him in regards to how often he lies on the floor, holding a leg or a shin or whatever every single game. But, facts are facts. He's delivering points in some positions that are noteworthy. Next game is Dolphins v Roosters, and I will not beat around the bush. This is going to be a slaughter. Joey Manu is back. I mean, as much as I love Wayne, I don't know if he can get the boys up just from a talent perspective compared to this Roosters team. Joey Manu's back, so obviously if he's around anywhere, you grab him. If you own him, you're probably good to probably start him in this one for sure. We'll go into the matchups on tomorrow's potty, but that's pretty self-evident. I've highlighted Terrell May because I think we're at the time, it's round 22. They got the bye next weekend. Owners, if there's better options, I think it's time to drop him. There's a risk that something changes and he gets a starting spot and he's just a crazy producer. But we've seen 2 low scores in a row. There's a lot of risk there. You're better off either AEing if you have that set up, or picking up someone who presents more value for your team potentially, especially with potentially low minutes here and then a bye next week. Not loving that prospect for Terrell May. Titans v Broncos, that is the next game. Cam Pereira's been stringing it together. The way Jaden Campbell distributes the ball from right to left is pretty phenomenal. And I think that makes Cam Pereira a super viable start. Each week the Titans are trending in the right direction in terms of what they deliver SuperCoach wise. I know the Manly game was a bit of a blight. Before that they'd been okay. Similarly, Mofo, I think he can be owned if you're really desperate in the front row spot. Definitely don't hesitate to grab Mofo. You just got to hope that he continues doing what he did. The minutes were there and the output was really sensational. So you take a punt on him whilst ever he's humming, because at this point in the season, that's the sort of thing that can take you over the top or save you from having to. You might need to play him because then you AE your hooker if you're really stuck in both hooker and front rower. You're looking for a reasonable plug there. The problem is Jolliffe is returning either this weekend or next. So just bear that in mind if you're going to burn a high ticket. I don't think it really impacts him. I think it impacts more potentially Aaron Clark, but or Chris Randall. So yeah, bear that in mind that there's a little risk there for minutes, but I'd be taking the punt at this point. Storm v Dragons. Did I mention the other team? Oh, Broncos. There's nothing noteworthy there for me. Broncos v Dragons. Sloan is back in, which is interesting. Luciano Leilua earns a starting spot. I think therefore he probably can be owned, but I don't love this matchup. Jack Howarth and Grant Anderson, I think they need to be owned if you're needy in those areas. Howarth, I think the limitation is the positional eligibility, but Anderson, I think definitely you'd get a piece of this Storm offense. Tyron Wishart's to the bench. Would I hold him? If I was a Munster owner, I'd probably hold him. I don't know when Munster's going to rest or whether that groin flares up or Hughes rests. I think if you own Munster or Hughes, you probably try and hold Wishart depending on your bench setup and where your other problems are. That's the way I see that. Next game, Sharks Bunnies. Samuel Stonestreet is the notable name coming in for the injured Ronaldo Mulitalo, and I think I like Stonestreet. I like his size, his frame, his athleticism. I like him on the left wing there. We've seen how well Mulitalo scores tries. So, yeah, I definitely recommend if you don't have better options or you're looking for just that upside punt, the Sharks have a solid run on the way home. They legitimately do. So I think getting a slice of their attack is pretty interesting. You know, for me, someone that owns Jesse McLean, I would be looking pretty strongly at Stonestreet for a straight swap. But, yeah, Panthers versus Sharks. I'm probably going to go Panthers, but there's more. It feels like there's more mouths to feed. The Panthers, perhaps. And just if Atkinson or Trindall are around, just grab them. Tane Milne I've highlighted because in deep leagues, he is still delivering despite all the odds, I guess. Don't love recommending him, but it is what it is. Teague Wilton back to full 80 and tackling a lot better. Happy to have him as a starter or on my bench as a 2RF, and you should do the same if he's available in your league for the right price. I think there's reasonable upside in the sense he should base 45 to 60. And then if he scores a try, we know he's going probably 75 plus, as we've seen earlier on the year where he had 100 and another high score. So, yeah, happy with Teague Wilton, the way he's trending. Just got to hope that it maintains. And Stonestreet, I think, is a really viable pickup. Panthers Knights. This is interesting. Isiah Iongi gets his debut, which is really sick. Don't know how well he'll go. I'm sure he'll do fine. This is a good matchup for him, but we just don't know him, so that unknown quantity. I think also he's only eligible at fullback from memory. I could be wrong. Apologies. Double check that for yourself. But due to that, I don't think there's many people that are going to need to rely on him unless you're literally the Edwards owner into the Laurie owner, and then you need that pickup. Then yeah, Isiah Iongi for sure. But for someone like myself, he doesn't serve any purpose to me. If he's a 2-week play, which I don't think he is, because I think they might just blood him, and I think Dane Laurie was doing such a good job, he'll just come back in next week because I think his 11-day stand down should be over. If it's not, that's something you want to research. Then for a Teddy owner like me, do I stash Iongi in the hope that potentially round 23 I can rely on Iongi while Teddy's on buy? So I've got some thinking to do there. I've got Laurie, I need to figure out the math there. but I have other options too for my fullback. But yeah, just be thinking about that one. Having a slice of this Penrith team is just too good right now. Casey McLean, yeah, if he's still available, grab him. Unfortunately, he didn't really go on with the score. I didn't love that, but the game was just weird. Penrith's never went out. So Cleary just, he was playing a different sport. He was like, literally, it was slow motion for him just around the ruck. Like literally one pass from the ruck and he could either go himself, which we saw, play short to back rows, which we saw. He didn't have to rely on their set play wide shape that hits the wingers. So it was an unfortunate game for winger owners. But yeah, I'm not reading too much into it. I think you just want a piece of the Panthers, because if they don't get that, like if a team then counters that outside shape by by pulling up, he's going to play short and demolish you in that realm if you're lazy around the ruck. But then if you want to be really quick coming up with your line speed near the ruck, then I think Nathan could flick a switch and take it to the outside. So yeah, if you're a Penrith back owner, don't read too much into stuff. You're going to have some ups and downs given just where he can dominate, and you've just got to hope for the best. Lindsay Smith gets an uptick here with JFH because JFH wanted to come back on. I haven't double checked the latest on his injury. He could only be a week away, but I think Lindsay Smith's a really good plug. If he's available, he should score pretty well. And then I think maybe as an offshoot of that and downstream effect, does Liam Henry get a little uptick potentially? Not saying go waiver for these guys or anything, but just keep it in mind if you're making sit-start decisions. A lot of changes here for the Knights, as they should. Fletcher Sharp is now a winger. That's interesting. I think we saw it. Did we see a game of him at wing? I can't quite remember. I think we did. The frame, like he's not the biggest guy, so like he's probably not going to bust a lot of tackles. And then playing Penrith, I don't love him, but if you've been holding him as a handcuff for Ponga and you're stuck this weekend, you could probably fire him up and just hope he hits upside. I'm not sure. Dylan Lucas is in the centres. That means Frizzell and Kai Pearce-Paul are back to guaranteed being 80-minute back rowers. So if they're available, they're fine plays and pickups and holds and whatnot. Phoenix Crossland's at 7. I like that from the perspective of Crossland will just distribute the ball to the boss, Kalen Ponga, as bloody Jackson Hastings should have. That is why the Knights' attack was just so dead, because Hastings just thought he was the guy there, when just listen to Ponga. If Ponga calls it, you just give it to him. Even if what he wants doesn't develop, he's the type of player playing ad hoc. As the shape breaks down, he can still create, and Hastings just consistently went short when he should have gone out the back, and then would go out the back when he should have gone short. I don't know what it was. He just can't get it right. Cogger's on the bench there, most likely to spell Brayley, given that Crossland's now in the halves. Last game of the week is Dogs v Raiders. Karaz is back on a wing. I thought he would not go well at centre, but I don't think that game went the way anyone thought it would. Bulldogs v Broncos, credit to them, but against all the data odds and against all the common sense eye test odds, the Broncos just capitulated, and the Dogs just had one of those games where everything goes their way, like that kick across where Karaz stuck a hand out, all that sort of stuff. Those games happen. That's fine. You're super happy if you're an owner. Crichton's back, which is really interesting. That shores them up and does impact, in my opinion, some of the Raiders' upside, which is limited as it is. Josh Curran named is awesome for owners such as myself, because that means that the knee injury was minimal, and just due to the scoreline, they probably just put him off just to give him an early breather, knowing how deep they need to go into the finals with him. So I'm assuming they're going to be conscious of his minutes and his physical shape. I'm hoping he still maintains that 70-minute, even 60-minute role, because he will deliver. Jacob Preston, I held and was stouting. What am I even saying? I was, advocating for Preston as a waiver pickup. Was it last week or the week before? I got him. It must have been the week before, and he delivered last weekend with 100, which was awesome. And that was without a try, so pretty sick. I mean, he had like 3 line breaks and whatnot. Don't get me wrong, and the game was just a super coach bonanza for the Bulldogs, looking at Jarrell Skelton's score and stuff. But really happy. Also, Josh Adokar's back. I forgot to mention that. Didn't even see him there. So if he's available, get a slice of the Bulldogs for sure. Don't hesitate. If you're looking for a back end CTW, you can rotate in. But Jacob Preston, great to see him deliver. I'm really happy there. Hopefully it maintains. Hopefully the minutes maintain. The bench is not indicative of that, but they've been running that small, agile pack, and that's just the way it's going to be. Tom Starling definitely needs to be owned. That trend is looking pretty good if you're an owner. Jamal Fogarty was great in his return. Just thought I'd call that out. That'll do it. I don't think I've got any questions because I've recorded this one really quickly. Oh, I got a bunch of questions. So they just came in then. So thanks for that person. I think it's probably the same person. Guys, if you missed the questions, they'll be on the sit start, and I might double check them later and just respond to them. How can I do that? Maybe via Twitter or something, just because I know I'm recording this super early, but I just have to be really efficient with my time. Lane v Martin v Luciano. Yeah, Martin has not been relevant for a few years despite the great score. And then I know with Penrith and Cleary, you're tempted, but Luciano, Lane, rest of season. I can't trust Lane because of the season he's had and that terrible team. So I can't say Lane. I've got no issues you punting on Martin. Just know what you're getting into, and then Luciano second. Martin just hasn't been relevant, and he's gonna score tries and do some stuff, but there's gonna be games he gets you 35. No, definitely, especially coming to the finals. Like there's gonna be times he comes off after 65 minutes. Is my guess. That sort of ballpark that's gonna impact you. But I just feel crazy not recommending a Panthers player. Like that just feels insane saying don't pick the Panthers guy. But I just say Luciano, Martin and Lane or whatever. But I'm not going to blame you for taking Martin and seeing how it goes. Maybe Cleary and him do enough for you for the next couple of weeks. Don't know. Marnie v Starling. I think it's Marnie. But I mean, if he's on your freeze, you take Marnie just in the better team. He's going to get enough action, I'd say, enough upside. Starling's looked great, but there's also any moment Starling could play 40 minutes. I'm taking Marnie for the job security, the role there. Milne v Sami v Felt. Oh man, I like what I've seen out of Sami, just breaking tackles outside. Kieran Foran. Felt though, the cows are looking dangerous. I don't like the buy. Milne I've mentioned, but I'd probably have it Sami just for a bit of base. Felt for the try scoring, then Milne just because I can't trust Milne, but they're all fine. Everyone you've named here is fine. The orders, though, are what's going to take a bit of balance. If I knew kind of how desperate you were in different spots, whether it's short term, whether you're in the finals, whether you're chasing, that might help. But just as it stands, that's my advice. I know it's really tempting after high scores like Lane for me to say Lane, but I'm just trying to go off what we've seen all season, and I just haven't seen enough, so I'd feel crazy putting him ahead. So Luciano, Martin, then Lane, but they're all interchangeable for different reasons, mate. So that's tough. Marnie for me, and then I'm taking Sami, Felt, Milne in that order, that one. So another question here. Finals, start CNK or Ponga? Also, should I start Max Plath with the second, or should I target Max Plath with second waiver or go for a Lane? Happy to hear other options for 2RF that could be a 1 week play. I would... Depending on your matchup, mate, I'd consider holding that waiver and just seeing which of those two guys is available the next day. Having said that, Plath's better than Lane, so possibly, I would grab Plath, but that's based on what's available. Like if Cardi's there, you can grab Cardi. That makes sense to waiver for Plath. I get that. He's been really solid. CNK or Ponga, I'll do you one. I'll do you a solid and quickly look at the matchups, even though the potty's not live. CNK, really strong matchup. Ponga really has an okay matchup against a good team. Mate, I think it would be crazy to play CNK over Ponga. The Warriors haven't been great. CNK is back off the head knock or the injury or the calf, whatever it was. You drafted Ponga, you've got to run with your guy. Like you live or die by that. That's just my opinion. If you want to do something different, mate, and go the matchup, but just know that statistically, Ponga's matchup's pretty good. They're really close. So personally, I couldn't start CNK over Ponga. That would just, I don't know, man. That's just, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. You drafted Ponga where he's at for that reason, most likely, unless you traded for him. But play your guy, man. Run with your guy. That's just pretty much rule number one. When you're starting to overthink things there, I think a little bit, you just play the best guy and see. And if it doesn't work out, that's just sad, man. That's unfortunate. But then you played your best guy. If you played CNK and lost not playing Ponga, you would absolutely, you wouldn't forgive yourself. Whereas the other way around, you can forgive yourself for playing who coming into the season was the best fullback in the game. He was the third pick for a reason. In most draft rankings, for example, you wouldn't live with yourself if you played CNK and lost with Ponga on your bench. You just wouldn't. Whereas the other way around, you definitely live with yourself and you just go, oh well, too bad. the lesson there is maybe you should have traded CNK for a better value elsewhere. If that is the case, sort of thing, you know, having that choice isn't something you kind of want at this point. You just go with your guys. So yeah, good luck, mate. Yeah, thanks for the questions. Thanks for tuning in. Hope this was valuable to you. A little bit longer than usual, just because I had a bit of a spiel at the start. Yeah, and I'll just run through quickly my waiver pickups. Tom Starling, hooker. Bryce Cartwright, 2RF. Lindsay Smith as a plug for front rower. Mo Fot as a gamble for front rower. Isiah Papali'i should be owned in 2RF. Isiah Iongi is a plug in fullback. Samuel Stonestreet as a punt in winger, but probably should be owned. Casey McLean, again, should be owned. Braydon Trindall, definitely owned. Dan Atkinson should definitely be owned. Phil Sami, great gamble. Hope for some upside. TPJ, that one probably from last week. Don't know about TPJ anymore. Dylan Walker should probably be owned. Toby Sexton should be owned. So, yeah, Grant Anderson, all that sort of stuff should be owned. So, that's that one. Thanks, team. We'll talk soon.